What up YouTube, Frisky Dingo here, getting back with you guys with another reaction / review video. Today we're looking at one of my favorite movies that I've been anticipating for a very long time, The Many Saints of Newark. Basically a movie to the series of The Sopranos. Now The Sopranos is one of my favorite TV series of all time. I've watched every single season about 2 times every year for the last 7 years. That's how much I love the show. And David Chasson himself, he gives me that reminiscent of early 2000 writing where you basically got a lot of information all into a few seasons, even though the show itself is predicated on a completely different story. So I think that it's funny that David Chase took that and brought it into a movie. I've been on the internet. A lot of people are saying that it didn't fill any holes. The storyline wasn't adding up. They didn't like how it wasn't focused on Tony. And I'm so totally confused because the story literally is not supposed to be about Tony, right? If we understand the title, Many Saints of Newark, right? It's a play on to Multisanti, aka multi, which means many, and santi, which means saint, right? So just off the basis, the story is revolved around Dickie Multisanti, right? And it revolves around the DeMeo family before the Sopranos became fully in charge of the family. And basically the movie explained a lot. You have to be I hate to say this, but you have to be a real Sopranos fan to really get all the information that was put into that movie, because boy, it was a lot. I mean, even if we start off from the basis, right? The first thing in the first scene, we see Uncle Dickie and Tony going to pick up Dickie's grandfather, right? What was the first thing that happened in that first scene? Dickie fell in love with a woman he just met. Bada bing, bada boom. Who also did that? Who also fell in love with a development girl the minute he saw her, right? So there's a play on to these type of things, right? Dickie's father being a heavy drinker, Christopher also being a drinker. Also, the most big important part that everybody assumed that Dickie Multisanti was a drug addict, in which he wasn't. He was actually getting drugs for Liv so that she can fix her bipolar disorder. But at the same time, they found the drugs on him when he died. So even in that sense, we get an essence of understanding that, okay, Dickie Multisanti wasn't a drug addict. It was just Liv doing what she does, like just being spiteful and hateful and judging people off of things that aren't truly accurate. So that we just take that off of the basis. So a lot of people are saying, well, the only thing we learned was that how Dickie died, and I think that's completely false. I mean, you have multiple storylines, multiple backstories are lining up. The most important part that people don't understand is that the black issues in that movie wasn't no crack, like cash grab. Like, what are y'all talking about? Like, literally almost every single season of Sopranos has an overarching storyline that involves Tony dealing with black people, right? Perfect example. When Tony first got in charge and he was in position, people forget there was black people rioting in Newark about not being a part of the labor unions, right? Tony had to go speak to an old black guy so that he could get his son to back down and be a part of him so that they could continue to make money off of the construction sites. In that same episode, within that same episode, Tony ends up going to Italy to go meet his cousin or whatever, right? In the beginning of the episode, the first thing you see is 2 white people driving in a car. They get robbed by 2 black men, and then immediately the father says those goddamn N-words, right? And then the wife replies, why would you say that? And he said, but who else? Who else would do it? The scene literally follows through with Tony at the doctor's office looking through the pictures that he hired them guys to steal, all the cars that he hired for those guys to steal, so that he could go back to Italy and sell it to the Italians over there. That's just one example of how it works. Almost every season has a scene where once again a mob person is committing a crime and they blame it on a black person. Oh, once again, when Paulie got into a fight, Paulie Jr. got into a fight with the tall guy who ended up committing suicide in the 6th season because he was an agent. When they got into a fight, who was the first person they blamed after them two fight? Oh, go call the cops. It was a black person. So there is an overlining arch story of race with Italians, but not also Italians, but the mafia. Then you go with the whole Noah situation, just multiple situations that you see where even in this sense, when Tony's daughter Meadow was dating a black man, Tony was completely uncomfortable. Like, he was uncomfortable with Noah. Going back to, once again, the reminiscent of how Tony could have ended up not liking black people, right? Because we saw that Tony interacted with black people within this show, right? I mean, within this movie and the show. Even going back to the scene where he tried to bribe the black police officer so he wouldn't give him a ticket, and then bribe him again so he could get his job back, and then give him money at the end of the episode so that he can basically be loyal to Tony. And what did the black man end up doing? He said no. He said, I'm not dealing with you. I'm not taking your money. You're never going to get one over me. So Tony has experience. If you saw in the movie, he saw firsthand of a black man standing up. And that obviously put a portrayal in his head of how black people are supposed to be, because then vice versa, when he met a black person who acted just like the black man in the movie, he respected him but kept trying to bribe him, even though he knew this man was not going to give up his word. So a perfect example is that. Then we have an understanding that Dickie Moltisanti was in charge of the Shy business in all of North Jersey. With him being dead, now we understand why Philly and New York was putting pressure on North Jersey for the Shy business, right? That was always an overlining story within the Sopranos. Philly being, putting pressure on the mob in North Jersey for the Shy business. What else do we get? We get the reason why Uncle Junior never got into power, why people never took him serious, because secretly he was a little bit either bisexual or gay. That was very much hinted in the movie, but also more importantly, people didn't take him serious because he was Johnny's younger brother. So basically throughout the movie we see Corrado Soprano basically, deal with beefs and him getting upset after Dickie, once again, he promised Dickie we're brothers, and then Dickie's out here making fun of him. So we see that once again, it took Junior a long time to get his position when it got to the series. And it shows why he was so volatile when he got the position. Why? Because he was so used to everyone making fun of him throughout the entire show. So the entire series of the movie. So you have that. You also have the part with Tony and him being in school, why he took school serious, but also why Tony was kind of halfway mob, halfway educated, which was always a very overarching, complex story within the Sopranos first and second season. Tony obviously was okay with school, but being who his mother was, he felt uncomfortable about it. Once again, him being a genius or being extremely smart like his cousin, Tony Blundetto, he was made to be something more than what people forced him to be. And that was another overarching thing that they presented in the movie. So they showed that. They also showed how Anthony Jr. was basically mimicking all of Tony's problems that he did. Because remember, Anthony Jr. got in charge for stealing a car. He got in trouble for smoking. He got in trouble for stealing. He got in trouble for stealing the grades out of his school. Those are all the same things Tony did, and the movie shows that. So Tony and Anthony Jr. are pretty much the same. Then we see the reflection between Carmela and Liv. Throughout the movie, Liv is talking down on her kids, saying that they don't know what they want to do. They could have done something better. Speaking down on for example, the perfect round full circle scene was the shooting of Liv. John Barretho's character, Johnny Soprano, shoots Liv in the head of her Be-Do hair hive. We know that scene in itself is very titular moment for Tony Soprano. So the fact that they put that in and then gave us details of how it happened was so beautiful. Number one being that when Tony was going through his depression arc, that was the first thing that Carmela used against Tony, that his mom got shot by the father through her beehive hairdo. Then on top of that, within the episode, we learned the context that not only Tony's father was, trying to encourage Tony to go to college and things like that, because we always told that that's not the case. But reality was, Johnny Soprano wanted Tony to go to school. Like, the same thing with Dickie. They all wanted him to go to school. They didn't really want him to be in the mob. They want him to kind of, be a part of the family, but not actually participate in the mob structure. So we understand that. And what ends up happening, Tony Soprano's like, Johnny Soprano hearing his wife talk down on the kids, and then he ends up shooting her. Why? Because she was literally talking down on his son, which is what Carmela did, right? When Meadow was trying to go to school and become, she was choosing between a lawyer and doctor, and she chose that she was going to be a lawyer. Carmela got upset saying, oh, well, Meadow's never been good with kids. Tony literally looked at her like he wanted to smack her and said, what are you talking about? She's always been good with kids. So once again, that judgmental side, obviously there's a reflection of Tony and his mother and why he chose to date Carmela, because obviously they both have the same characteristics. We also saw how the Moltisanti curse happened when Christopher first was inducted into the mob situation. There was a black hawk, a black crow, or a black bird that was at the door. Now we see the origins of that curse being that Dickie killed his father and then destined to not grow up with his son, or his son dying to the same result, which end up happening, right? Because that's the overall arching story of Sopranos. It's not only about the intersectionality of black people, but it's also the intersectionality of the mob themselves and how they continue to create these parallel of problems that hurts the future generation of other people who want to become mobsters. And that was one of the biggest poignant things of the Sopranos series. Like I said, the number one is always the overarching black theme. You go back, watch Sopranos, because most people, I don't think, actually watch the show. They just remember all the cool Italian mob parts. But realistically, there's a whole, like the HUD scheme, the episode where Tony defrauded HUD. That episode was with the police officer. The police officer, he thought, because Tony thought he went to the hood, saw all these crack people and black people who were, giving up everything for just, money and things like that. And he thought that he could participate doing the same thing to a black police officer, which he ended up finding out wrong. So there's so many episodes. The scene with the black man Harold basically, stepping up, taking over the Shy business because of Frank Lucas, but also him attacking the mob. He did a lot of things that characteristically black people would not do. So there was a lot. It's a lot of portrayal that connects to the original story, and I think that's what people are missing the most when watching this. I think people should go back, rewatch the Sopranos series, and then watch the movie again, because trust and believe, there were so many connections. I just named a lot. Like, I just sat here, spoke for almost 13 minutes about almost everything that's connected, and people are telling me there is no connection. So that's all I can say. People have to go watch it more. Like I said, there's so many overarch. I named a lot, even to the point, the last scene where we find out Dickie's dead, right? Even with the Liv part, Liv said like he was a drug addict. He never really was. He was just a heavy drinker. So that scene in itself set a precedent. The same thing with when Tony first met Christopher, right? We saw the scene. Tony was trying to hug Christopher. Christopher started acting like a baby, just crying, and Tony was visually upset, visually frustrated, angry, if you will, like that silent anger that he gets in the original show. So it's already showing you a precedent that Tony does not like Christopher at all. Zero. So that's also a very big important part. Why? Because we never understand why Tony has such hostility to Christopher throughout the entire series. So that's also that. So and then also we do get the final answer, because Christopher's big thing was that he was hoping that his father if he was able to meet his father, that he would have loved and respected him too. And the realization is that Dickie Moltisanti would have hated Christopher also. He would have hated Tony and Christopher, because at the end of the day, they both represent what they're not supposed to be coming into the mob, which is soft, which is Christopher was an artist. He was a very well-spoken, very titular character, but he was an artist at the end of the day. His father would have never respected that. And Tony, being who Tony is, you know, going to college, doing all these other things, like in the movie said, Tony lived a suburban lifestyle. He didn't grow up in the mud or anything like that. So people can say that, okay, this right here is what made Tony weak. So that's all I can say. You know, there's so many different parts that are connected. People have to understand that this movie took almost different scenes from every single season and combined it into one movie. Almost every scene is giving you some type of information, right? Once again, how many times has Christopher, like, you know, tried to kill somebody, right? People he loved. Like, this is an overarching theme that his father and him do not have to control their love and their hatred. It's combined together. Hence why Christopher was always doing these hostile things to Adriana. The same thing when he dated that D girl. It's an overarching theme that the Moltisanti men are lovers and passionate love killers. Like, they kill for love. And that's basically how it goes. So you know, like I said, I think a lot of people need to go watch the movie again. You know, just rewatch it. Suggestion by me. But I love it. I might rewatch the show again just in case, you know, I missed anything, because I feel like I probably did. But I doubt it. I've watched the show so many times. I know I didn't miss a single thing. Almost every other scene had significant information to tie in the Sopranos movie to it. And now we basically know all the missing plot holes of what happened. I heard that there was a secret scene at the end of the movie where Carmela was supposed to be over Tony Soprano's grave. We never got that. They cut that out. It's okay with me, but overall, the movie, in my opinion, I give it at least a 8 out of 10. If I take out the semantics of the backline story, I would give this movie a 9 out of 10. Honestly, a 9 out of 10, simply because of the fact that not only did it create it not only answered a lot of questions, but almost every single scene was lined up with the Sopranos. Unless you actually watch the show, you wouldn't be able to see it for yourself. So, you know, if any more news comes out, guys, you know, I'm going to do another movie review. A lot of movies I love. I'm a big movie critic fan, so, you know, I never get to participate in reviewing movies because I've watched so many, but I think I'm going to start doing that also on this channel too. Anytime a movie comes out that I extremely enjoy, I'm going to review it based on, you know, whatever happens with the movie. So, check out for my next video. I think I'm going to upload another video for Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, I have the Dawn of Majesty collection and the 2021 tin box, so hopefully we could break those open. And I also will be doing, you know, more videos throughout the week on my YouTube channel. Maybe I'll start doing 2 a day depending on my time schedule, because I like to work out in the morning, so I use the afternoon to make my videos. So if any more news comes out, guys, I will see you guys in the next one.